Hi, this is Delia from Delia Creates. Let's make a basic stiff-brimmed witch hat. You'll need a ½ yard of felt, partial wool is best, interfacing, matching thread, chalk, and basic sewing supplies. Print and assemble the free sewing pattern at deliacreates.com. Print at 100% and check the 1-inch square for accuracy. Trim around the boxes, tape it together, and cut out the pattern pieces. For the brim pattern, use a penknife to cut out the inner ring, but hang on to it because you'll need both pieces. If you're making your hat out of black felt, I recommend using chalk to trace your pattern. You'll need 1 felt hat top piece and 2 felt brim pieces traced with the inner ring included, and then you're going to cut a brim out of very stiff sew-in interfacing with the ring removed. Lastly, you'll need a strip of felt 1.5 inches wide by 43 inches long. Now you're ready to sew. Fold the hat top in half, pin and sew along the raw edges with a ½ inch seam allowance, then clip the seam allowance at the hat point to reduce bulk. Then press the seam open and flat with an iron. Now turn the hat right side out with a point turner or a chopstick, and then you're ready for step 2. Pin one of the felt brims to the hat, taking care to pin the hat seam allowance flat. Felt tends to stretch, especially polyester felt, so try to reduce this by not pulling or tugging as you pin and sew. Using a felt with wool content helps this tremendously. Lengthen your stitch to 3.5 millimeters and sew with a ½ inch seam allowance. Then pin the second felt brim to the inside or wrong side of the hat. This time you're going to sew it with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. This will become important when you attach the interfacing brim. When you're done, you should see both stitch lines on the outside and only the 3/8 inch seam allowance stitch line on the inside. Then trim the smaller seam allowance for all the layers, taking care not to cut through any stitches. Sandwich the interfacing brim in between the 2 felt brims and clip the top felt brim only to the outer edge. Push the other felt brim up and out of the way, and then sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. You want the brim pulled tightly, but you don't want to pull it toward you and warp it, so pull it outward toward the edge of the brim and prevent any stretching by gently pushing the felt toward the presser foot as you sew. Despite your best efforts, you may still get some stretching, so pull out and re-sew any puckers, and if you sew with wool felt, you can fix some of the warping by spraying it with water and pressing with an iron. Now repeat the process for the other felt brim. Clip it to the edge. If it's a tight fit, this is a good thing. Keep pulling it tight and readjusting and reclipping as you need until it's all the way to the outer edge. Sew it with the 1/4 inch seam allowance just as you did the top brim. It is especially crucial at this step that you stretch the felt outward, but also prevent stretching along the edge to prevent warping as you sew. Don't be afraid to unpick and re-sew as needed. You really want this to look nice and smooth. Even if you don't have any warping, spraying and pressing your brim can make it look clean and tight. Again, this only works if you're using a felt with wool in it. This will not work with just a polyester felt. For our final step, we're going to sew the felt strip or trim around the raw edge of the brim. Lengthen your stitch a little bit longer to 4 or 4.5 millimeters and then sew with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Fold evenly in half over the edge of the brim. I don't recommend clipping it in place first because you want to stretch it as you go. Pulling toward you is good this time. Don't push the felt toward the presser foot, instead sort of pat the felt toward the hat and then pull it tight toward you. If it's not perfect, that's okay. We will be trimming the excess trim and it will look nice and clean when we're done. Just be sure that you're sewing through trim both on the top and the bottom. Now continue sewing until you get back to where you started. Overlap your starting point by about a ½ inch, backstitch, and cut your threads. Cut the excess felt trim up to the stitch line without cutting through any stitches. The closer you can get the cut, the better. You can leave it like this or you can spray and press it with an iron again to really clean it up. And that's it. You've made a basic witch hat. Find more tutorials and patterns at deliacreates.com.